Welcome to the CCEE Distance Learning Consortium. My name is Jennifer Gately, and I am your facilitator for this series from San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools. Today, we will be exploring Hot Topic Session 5, Prioritizing Core Instructional Values in Distance Learning. In this session, we will continue our exploration of the why, the what, and the how of distance learning and family engagement. In this session, we will look at instructional priorities in distance learning. We will go a little further and identify skills that impact student achievement in distance learning. And finally, we will identify experience that support proficiency in distance learning and how to engage families in those experiences. But first, let's start with a quote. If a child can't learn the way that we teach, maybe we should teach the way that they learn. As we continue in distance learning, it is clear that we cannot teach everything, nor can we expect our families to do that as well. In the same manner that we taught in the classroom, we must also identify priorities away from the classroom as our students and families are now engaging in distance learning. Determining priorities in distance learning helps both students and parents and teachers focus their efforts during this very important learning time together. Let's take this a little bit further as we look at the foundations of instruction in distance learning. Ensuring that all students continue to make academic progress is a priority in distance learning. This is a monumental undertaking that requires teachers and families to work together in priority areas to support learning goals for all students. Mitigating the potential learning loss, we know, is a conversation that is essential right now for our schools as our teachers work to determine areas of instruction that are most impactful for students so that the time away from the classroom is not a barrier, it is not a detriment, it is merely just a transition. But in doing so, how do we work together with families in a way that is not only meaningful, but also manageable so that they know best how to support learning during the time when students are working at home? So as we take that idea a little bit further, let's dig into the question, how do we support core instruction in distance learning? How do we engage families in that role so that they do not replace the teacher, but they are prepared to support the teacher during the time of distance learning? First, let's explore the idea of the foundational reading skills. As we look at students' reading ability during their school day, we know that there are 4 key areas that really contribute to student success in this area. The first being reading volume. Knowing that students read a lot during their school day in the classroom becomes just as imperative that students are engaging in the same amount of reading time away from the classroom during distance learning. This is the #1 area of impact in students' proficiency and overall academic growth. #2, students' ability to read broadly, to read fiction, to read nonfiction, to read things that are of interest to them, to read things that are of necessity to them. This engages students in the ability to be a diverse, capable, and proficient reader who can engage not only in text about what they are learning, but to also engage in text for enjoyment so that they become not only a learner during distance learning, but they become that lifelong learner as well. So engaging students in a variety of reading activities throughout their school day becomes essential. #3, reading aloud to students. And I'd like to clarify at the very beginning, we often attribute this reading skill to our youngest learners, but actually it is quite as beneficial to our older learners as well, as it allows students in the younger years to develop a sense of oral reading fluency, their language, their verbal skills, together with their reading skills. But for our older students, that ability to read aloud engages students in the ability to be a confident and capable speaker who can use those skills in their future job opportunities as they move away from that K-12 environment of learning into their future, and they have the skills that they need to be proficient. Finally, diving a little deeper into that idea of reading proficiency, looking at school-age children, we know that they were engaged in the classroom in approximately 90 minutes of reading instruction during their school day. So it becomes imperative if students are away from their classroom environment in distance learning, that we are again allowing approximately the same amount of time of reading for students during their day at home. So looking at students' instructional reading time, whether that's synchronously with the teacher, asynchronously away from the teacher, or truly just reading enjoyment for pleasure, allowing students to be engaged in that optimal reading time every single day. And realizing that as a family, as we look at engaging students in a lot of reading, different ways to read, and different amounts of time to read, that engaging in this activity together as a family becomes an opportunity to not only build students' reading skills, but your family time together as well. Number 2, let's explore the idea of writing. Again, there are different ways to explore writing at home as it transitions into distance learning. First, let's look at writing scaffolds. This is so important for our families as we look at students developing writing skills and the different skills that they need to become a proficient writer. It becomes all too easy as a family to say, fix this, fix that, do this, change that, use this. And what often happens for the student on the other side is a sense of being overwhelmed as the ideas that they worked so hard to get down on the paper become a mess of red pen and scribbles and scratches and erasure marks all over the paper. So as we look at the idea of reading scaffolds, working together with the teacher to say, what is the most important thing that my student is working on in their writing? Is it capitalization? Is it punctuation? Is it a clear thesis? Is it supporting ideas? Is it a sense of voice? Whatever that idea is, focusing in and scaffolding, putting the tool and the resources to build that building and just that building so that students are bridging their reading proficiency away from the classroom into distance learning, one skill at a time. Also, similar to reading, looking at the idea of writing volume. We know for most students, writing for pleasure is quite the lofty goal, but engaging students in writing volume every single day, giving them an opportunity to develop a sense of stamina, much like running a race, is just as important for writing as it is for reading. And again, recognizing that our young learners might need support with that, and a parent to sit side by side and assist them, one sentence, one word, sometimes one letter at a time. But for our older students, identifying the value of writing volume and recognizing that someday in their future career, that they may have the opportunity or the necessity to engage in tasks that involve writing in one sitting, in one task, independently, with a resource and sometimes without. And are we engaging students in that sense of perseverance to push to the goals in distance learning that oftentimes support the goals of future learning as well? And finally, the idea of writing development and knowing that as a family that the more students think about the world around them, the more students engage in the world around them, the more students speak and read, the better they will write. So oftentimes, as we look at supporting students in writing, it begins first with thinking and talking. And it sounds like, tell me an idea, tell me a thought. What are you thinking? What are you wondering? Let's make a picture. Let's have a conversation. And often those are the essential skills that start writing development before the writing even begins. And finally, let's talk a little bit about the idea of supporting students' math skills. Math in distance learning is probably the greatest challenge that we can recognize, not only for our students, but our families as well, as we've all seen those memes that are floating out there about the new math, when really it is not the new math, it is just the new way of thinking about math. So we look for opportunities with students and families and the teachers that are supporting them as well to explore the value of math in your everyday life. to look at engaging in authentic math activities, from grocery shopping to balancing a family budget to looking at the checkbook or practicing games that involve math together with the family, but making it a way that students can be authentic and engaged, not only with their family during this time, but with math concepts as well. That as a family, we model and encourage a positive math mindset and the belief that everyone can succeed, families as well. So as we go back to the previous session on mindset, it is that idea of the power of yet. So we may not know how to complete this math problem yet, or answer this math fact yet, or read the math story problem yet. But together, we can take it one step at a time and figure it out. And finally, to engage in math maintenance and practice. This is possibly the easiest support that our families can make, as we know that the success of students in the area of math is often very much impacted by their ability to be proficient in their math facts. So families, if you do nothing more than make sure that students know a sense of number fluency, that they have memorized their addition facts, subtraction, multiplication, and division, that they know what are the clues and skills that warrant when to use one fact over another fact. This is another opportunity where you can engage students together in learning independently with your family, with other siblings, and sometimes with other students in the neighborhood as well. So in summary, students and families can engage together in extended distance learning opportunities in a way that is manageable, authentic, relevant, and most of all, fun for the family. Families, we are not asking you to replace the amazing teachers that are supporting your children in distance learning, but we certainly know that with some support together in the right areas of reading, writing, and math, that we can make this an experience that is manageable and fun for all students and families. So as you continue to explore the ideas of the most important areas for distance learning together at home, we invite you to look at some of these ideas, from books to resources, to activities, to games, opportunities to engage together with your students to keep the most important ideas of learning in place for students, so that when they do transition away from distance learning, they are prepared to return to classroom instruction with their teachers. This brings session 5 to a close as we look at the core instructional values of distance learning and some ideas for how families can support us in those areas. We invite you to continue with us on this professional learning journey as we move on to session 6, and we look at supporting our early learners in distance learning. Thank you.